Hello, YouTube viewers. 3Tips here. And I just wanted to pull something up here so that everyone can look at this. U.S. debt clock. And right here we have usdebtclock.org. I click on that. And what it does is it pulls up information about our national debt. Notice that it's $23.4 trillion. Let's see what else we got of interest on here. I'm into precious metals, so I'm going to look over here on this side of the chart right here. And if you notice, it says that the dollar to silver ratio back in 1913 was there were $2.65 floating around in circulation for every troy ounce of silver in existence. And today, that ratio is $1,136 floating around in circulation for every troy ounce of silver. Right below it here, we've got the dollar to gold ratio. Down here it says there were almost $29 for every troy ounce of physical gold. There was $29 of currency in circulation, dollars, US dollars. And then up here, if you notice, today there are 9,420 US dollars in circulation for every troy ounce of gold. Today is 3 April, Friday, 2020. The last image that I displayed of this U.S. debt clock showed the silver to dollar ratio at $1,136 floating around in circulation for every 1 ounce of physical silver. Gold was $9,420 in circulation for every ounce of physical gold. Today is 3 April 2020, which is that's about 3 weeks ago. And you can see here the number of dollars in circulation has increased from that 1,136 figure up to $2,138 for every ounce of physical silver in existence. The gold has increased from 9,420 up to $17,722 in circulation, US dollars in circulation for every ounce of physical metal that exists. I'll let you draw your own conclusion about those charts that I just displayed. Here I've got that bucket of cement silver that I'm going to try to melt up into some shot so we can run it through the silver cell. This is that container of sweeps that I have been keeping. It's going to have some gold and silver mostly in it. There'll be a lot of borax in there because I sweep my melt table off into that container. And here I've got my my tower set up with some tap water. I've got some large pieces of ice that I put in there to keep the liquid cool. It's important to cool that liquid when I pour this molten metal in, because the molten metal will tend to stay molten even after it's in the water, and it'll weld together down on the bottom of the container there if I don't have the water cooled off. Here I'm using a circulation pump, just a little pump to circulate the water in the tank as I pour the molten metal in. And now we're going to get set up here underneath that visor, that tinted visor, to do the melt. This short clip is 8 times normal speed. Once I got the charge of metal to a molten state here, I'm going to go back to regular speed. you'll see me take a couple of spoons of the sweeps out of that container over there and add it to the silver. Someone in a previous video commented and said it might be a good idea to add this powdered material to a charge of silver and then melt it together, and then the silver will act as a collector to gather up any precious metals that are in the sweeps. And then once we get it melted and poured into shot, I can run it through my silver cell, and then I'll be able to process the precious metals out of the anode filter basket. And I thought that was a pretty good idea, so I'm going to give it a try here and add a couple of spoons of those sweeps to every charge of silver that I melt. Here I'm back up to 8 times normal speed, and you can see there I had to keep the flame way back away from that powdered material so as not to blow it out of the melt dish. And once I got it molten, you can see little globs of metal coming out of that powdered material and then dissolving into the molten silver underneath. And here in a minute you'll see me turn the map torch off of there. Now I'm going to take away the visor, and we'll set the camera down over here and give you a good shot of me. I took a pair of pliers and grab the molten metal in the melt dish and pour it against that piece of wood there. What it does is it fans the molten metal out when it hits that piece of wood and forms some nice granules that fall to the bottom of that container of water. Here you'll see there's a few particles of metal here that adhered to the piece of wood there and caught it on fire, but it quickly went out and everything was fine. I know it's kind of living on the edge here, melting moist silver powder. But one nice thing about it is when you put that flame on it, it doesn't blow out of the melt dish. And so here's an entire sequence here. This footage is speeded up 8 times normal speed. And halfway through, I'm going to stop, pull the flames away, and add some of that powdered material in my sweeps container. That sweeps container has powdered material that I sweep off of my melt table. It'll have tiny balls of silver, tiny balls of gold. And my theory here is, based on what a viewer told me, recommended to do here, was to put that sweeps material in with that molten metal, and then the molten metal will act as a collector and dissolve the gold and silver that's in those sweeps. Okay, if you're trying to figure out why I'm adding those sweeps to that molten silver, the sweeps contains tiny balls of gold and silver from my melt table that I sweep up into that plastic container, and I save it. And what'll happen here is those tiny bits of metal will dissolve down into the molten silver, and then I'll pour it into shot, collect the shot, and run that shot through my electrolytic silver cell. The gold and other precious metals will collect in the anode filter of the electrolytic silver cell, and then I'll take those anode filters out and process the filters for the precious metals that they contain. I have a video coming up on how that's done. That'll be in a future video. Okay, let's disconnect this pump here, get it out of the way, and then we'll take this in and rinse all the water off of here and dry this up, get a weight on it. Here is our silver granules. Now what we're going to do is carefully pour off this tap water and get that silver out of there. Rinse it out with some hot water here. There's some pieces of flux that might come out, and that's not a problem. Actually, getting that flux out of there is probably a good idea. Transfer the silver into this separate steel bowl here. We got it all out of there. Now what we'll do, drain the water out of here, put this on the heat, dry it off. We're good. Let's get this guy out of the way. I've got some gold that I precipitated earlier. This beaker. What we'll do is turn the heat on over here. Set our silver up here now. Let this dry off. Alright, our silver has been dried. There it is. Now what we're going to do is get a weight on it. I've got the weight written on the side of the can here. The weight of the can is 448.5. We've got 1,805. Make sure we're not touching that. 1805 minus 448 gives us about. All right, might as well get started on this. This is the silver cell, and what we're going to do is pour the electrolyte off into here. Way. And then we'll get the silver crystal out of there. The silver crystal looks pretty good. Okay, let's take this container here and wipe this lip off, make sure we don't have no junk in there with it. And I'm just going to carefully pour the electrolyte off. This electrolyte can be reused, and so I'm going to save it. Let's pull this over here so you can get a better view of it. Now we're going to scrape the crystals down off the side of the bowl here. Got a little piece of plastic. Filter the electrolyte here, and we'll use this again in the next setup for the silver cell. Right now what we're going to do is transfer these crystals into this beaker so we can rinse them off, get all the electrolyte off of there. I've got some copper in a beaker here, and what we'll do is pour off this electrolyte, this excess electrolyte, into here. And then what I'll do is I'll use some distilled water to rinse the silver crystals off. Best to use many small rinses here. And just pour that rinse water into the beaker here with copper. The copper will cement the silver out of solution, and then we'll gather the cement silver up, melt it up, and run it through our silver cell, get it into pure silver crystal. Rinsing it over and over with the still water until we get all that silver out of there, our silver nitrate solution off of the crystals. Got a small beaker here. I'm going to get a sample of this rinse water. We're going to add a little hydrochloric acid to this now. Let's see where we're at as far as the electrolyte being rinsed off of here. Still got a little bit of silver in solution, as you can see, but not much. A couple more rinses and we should be free of silver nitrate from those crystals. I've done 2 more rinses. Now we'll get another sample of this rinse water right here. We're going to add some hydrochloric acid to it. Usually takes about 6 rinses to get this all the electrolyte off of the silver crystals. And as you can see, hydrochloric acid produces no reaction. The liquid stays crystal clear. That tells us that all of the silver nitrate electrolyte has been rinsed off of our silver crystals. Okay, here we go. We're going to put this in a Corningware dish here, and we're going to dry it off, and then we're going to get some of it bagged up, offered up for sale on my eBay store. Let's turn some heat on here. Get this back out of the way. We're going to set our silver crystal on the heat until it dries completely. Silver's been on here cooling down. It's 86 Fahrenheit. 30 degrees Celsius. We're going to take it in now, and we're going to weigh it up and see what how much silver crystal we've got here. Let's see, let's turn this scale on. All right, we got 2,735 total weight of the silver and the dish. 2,735 silver and the dish. Weight of the dish is a 1,038. So we take 2,735 minus 1,038 equals, we've got 1,697 grams of ultra high purity fine silver crystal. Now what we're going to do is bag up some of the silver. I've got the bag that weighs 0.120 troy ounces. We're going to put some of our ultra fine pure silver crystal in this bag and offer it for sale. Try to get some of the bigger crystals here off the top. This batch didn't really have some huge crystals in it, but there are some pretty nice ones in there. Let's see what we got for a weight here. Okay, we want to be at 5.210 and we're at 4.4. So let's get this weight right here. 0.7. 0.9. Let's get some of these bigger ones here if I can find some. Alright, we're getting close here. All right, there we go, 5.210. That means we've got a bag of silver here that weighs, the silver is 5.090. Bag is 0.120. Total weight of the bag and the silver is 5.210. This will do it for this video. We got some silver shot melted up. There's about 1.4 kilos of silver shot there. We'll run this through the silver cell. I've got, I still got, at least, that's only about 20% of what we did here of the cement silver that I have in this bucket. So I probably got about another 4 or 5 kilos of cement silver here. All of this needs to be run through the silver cell. And of course we got our pure silver crystal here that we just harvested. Man, that stuff looks just beautiful. It's just really dazzling. I don't know if you can see that on the camera, but to see it in person, man, it's just really something else. What we'll do, I've measured out 5 troy ounces of this double refined, ultra fine, pure silver crystal. What we'll do is we'll put this up for sale on my eBay store and try to make a little money. I'm broke and deeply in debt, and we're getting ready to go into a depression. It's not a good place to be, folks, but at least I've got a little bit of metal here that I can rely on to maybe make a few bucks to keep the lights on, keep a roof on my head, and keep some food on the table. Alrighty, that'll conclude the video. Thanks for watching.